Okay. Thank you, everybody. If you want to keep coming up and see, please do so. If you guys want to talk, just go in the back. Be fine.
Okay. And there's lots more room up front if you want to bring any more chairs and be right up in the front. We'd be happy to have you. I'm Dom Starzier, and I am happy to welcome everybody here to the Legend ceremony. Would have been nice to have played in a 70-plus game this afternoon. That was the plan. But at the same time, I'm always reminded when I come back here of the things that one of the first impressions I had of our game, and what I'm telling young players all the time, and which I tweeted this morning for anybody that happens to look at that, which is that I've always felt strong that if you treat this game with respect, it can be your friend for a long time. And that's been the case, I think, with all of us. I'm actually here tonight with 3 of my teammates from our 1973 Brown University Ivy Championship team. We had our 50th anniversary this past spring. And I firmly believe, oh, thank you very much. I firmly believe there's a spirituality about what we do here that derives from the game's Native American roots. And I don't take it for granted. And the people in this room, we're a community of friends. You know, there's no doubt about that. I'm really proud what this Legends event has evolved into, and even more proud that we use this occasion to help people in greater need than ourselves. We have made contributions in the past few years to the Lake Placid EMTs, the Cancer Society in the name of one of our own, Casey Powell's World Lacrosse, Harlem Lacrosse, Indigenous Youth, and this year the Legends Society made a contribution to the GoFundMe page of another one of our own, Al Brown, who had double lung replacement surgery about a year ago. This event has turned into a celebration. Our induction ceremony, dinner, beer, music, I hope a little something for everyone. Enjoy yourself. We'll take a moment to recognize a couple of our esteemed friends and recall what I used to say to my teams at the end of every practice: we have a lot to be thankful for. Great to have everybody here.
Dan Whitmer coming up. So my name is George Lavelle, and together with our inductee Mike DeRossi, 1989 or 90, we had an idea about playing some lacrosse up here. The rest we all know about. And it's just a pleasure to be here, and I really want to thank and acknowledge Dom and all the members of the Legends for their contributions in time, energy, effort, and resources towards community-oriented activities and things that are important to all of us. So I want to thank everyone for that. You know, the Legends really began with our 25th anniversary, and in 2014, and we began to recognize individuals who have been here for many years, and we started to see that many people have been here for many years. And so the Legends are a way of saying that this has become a community. I think last year I spoke about how this week in my life is like a core sample that goes down 35 years or 34 years, and there's a whole lot in that core, but it's only 1 week long, a year. And so it's just a wonderful experience. There's a sense of community among us, friendships that have been made, you know, from seeing people once a year. Just incredible things. So we're really proud of this effort. Our goal is to keep the spirit alive and to keep the idea of the community is very important in all of this. The fundraising work has been wonderful. The Haudenosaunee Development Group, For the Future Foundation, the Thompson Brothers are among additional groups that we're working to assist. So it's a really important thing that we continue to do this as we grow. I also want to mention last year the kind of community that we have. Peter Tracy, we all know last year had an incident on the field. Well, he and his team, after recovering from that, he and his team made a tremendous contribution to us to improve our medical response at the fields. And apparently today, it happened. Yeah. There was an ambulance right on call when somebody got hit hard and got hurt. So I want to thank Peter, the Ultra Legends, for their generous contribution to improving our medical response for our community. Dan Whitmer, where are you? Dan? Oh, okay. I just want to make sure you're ready. All right, so I just want to also mention a couple other things. So tonight we're adding another element tonight. We're going to show that lacrosse players are complete people. They do more than just play lacrosse. We're going to add a music element this evening after the program. We're going to move away this, and right here is a stage behind us, and provide some endemic music from people who have played in the tournament and have participated with us over the years. But before we start the formal program, I want a couple of thank yous. First of all, I want to thank the town of North Elba, our host, for the last 34 years, and all they do to make these fields as good as they can be for all of us. I also want to thank our sponsors. We have the Great Jones Distilling Company, Gate Lacrosse, Lake Placid Pub and Brewery, Motive Pure, and Sky Lacrosse. And I want to thank all of them for contributing to this event tonight. Thank you. Without further ado, I'm now going to turn it over to Dan Whitmer, our Legends Coordinator. Thank you, Dan.
We have a number of...
Hold on, Dan. Just step back. Go correct.
Okay. We have a number of legends here tonight, and I hope I got them all. Please forgive me if I missed a few. But if you would, I don't know, some of you are back there. We want to call them up still, or just stand up?
Let's call them, ask them to stand up.
All right. So you stand when I call your name, please. Tom Pillsworth. Chuck Peebs.
Who's Chuck?
Chuck Peebs. Tony Perante. Dom Starja. Anthony Orlano. John Morgan. Lynn Reitenbach. Bill Bergen. Blake Kim. Court Kim. Dave Basile. Butch Martin. That's all I've got. Did I miss anybody?
Any other legends here? Brent Riley?
Brent Riley.
Where is he? There's Brent Riley.
I'm sorry. Brent Riley. Okay, and at this time, we're going to have Jim Calder.
Oh, I remember that.
Say a few words. Thanks, Jim.
All right, I wanted to thank Lake Placid for inviting me to speak for the first time at your event. And I do a lot of work on history and culture of the game. And they asked me to pick a topic to speak about. And I had other ideas earlier on because I've known for a few months, that I was going to be coming to speak. But then an historic moment came, and I know it affects pretty well everybody in this room. And that was the passing of Alfie Jacks, who, Alfie, I've never seen anything like the worldwide interest and love of Alfie Jacks. Like, there's nobody like him. It's an historic moment for our sport, for what he gave to the sport and what he left behind. He taught many new stick makers to carry on his legacy. Jack Johnson at Akwesasne, Joe Valieri up at Rama as a Chippewa stick maker, and many others. Parker, his assistant. And I want to talk to you about Alfie Jacks. And the best way to start is how I first met Alfie. He was a legend for a long time, but I was working on this book, and I had been Very fortunate to be given a lot of information by a Cayuga faith keeper by the name of Dalzandre, or Delmore Jacobs. And Delmore created a meeting with me and Alf at his shop, which is truly a sacred place, the location of that shop, if you've ever were able to go visit him there. The first thing you need to know was that his Onondaga name was Anasagan Gage, which means old house, old house. That was his Onondaga name, which is his name that comes from his very heart. And he was like an old house in that he welcomed everybody, and everybody was able to go stay and visit at this house. And he acted as an ambassador for our game, where he broke down barriers between different people from different backgrounds. He was able to open doors to understanding where this game has its roots and where it came from. And Alf was an ambassador that the world will miss. But we're starting to work on something that we hope will come to fruition. We've got a group of people that knew Alf well, and we're going to put a petition forward to World Lacrosse to create an Alf Jacks Award that will be handed out. All right? So I met Alf. Sorry about that. I guess am I supposed to stand back or forward? Back.
Walk right into it.
So I met Alf, and I put him in a story where he is a stick maker in 1812. All right, and I took all of the knowledge that he passed on to me, and told this story. There's so many important people in Haudenosaunee culture. There's the clan mothers who actually run the show. All right, you know, everybody thinks the men, you know, are the most important aspect. No, it's the clan mothers that run the show. All right, and then you have the traditional chiefs, and you have the faith keepers or the knowledge keepers, and the other important person is the stick maker, because the stick maker carries on the creator's game by creating the sticks for his people to play with, and to have a stick maker in your community is necessary. I can remember meeting Travis Gabriel from up at Ganasatake, north of Montreal, and he was in a community that had lost a stick maker, Etienne, who had passed, and there was nobody stepping up to take that position in his community. But Alfie acted as a stimulus to get Travis going, and taught Travis what he needed to know in order to get the stick making going up there. A good friend of mine who's Anishinaabe up at Rama, Joe Valieri, he met Alfie. This is like 4 or 5 years ago, and he went away starting to make Great Lake sticks that are part of his culture and his community. I think it's important that I've got Alfie's hat here, all right? And this was gifted to me, and it's like I put this on and my head explodes. But this is Alfie's hat, all right? And this is Alfie's stick that he made for me, all right? And no stick feels better. I coached a lot of my girls lacrosse for my 2 daughters. This stick was always in the field, and they go, "What do you have a box stick out here for?" He goes, "Because you have to know where this game came from and why it's important." So I've got that. And then Alfie gave me one of the hickory nuts from his shop nearby, and I have that in my medicine bag with me here. So that always is with me every day. All right? So I didn't cry at his funeral. I was taking it all in at Onondaga. The entire community wrapped themselves around Alfie and sent him on his way. And their belief system is that you can't mourn him for long. He's on his path, and he's going forward, and that's what we have to do, is thank Alfie for what he did, and we're going to remember him and create things that live in his legacy that he left. All right? That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Jim. The first of our Legends Awards this year is the Tom Pillsworth Award, which was first presented in 2010, recognizing a staff member who has provided his or her service to the Lake Placid Summit Lacrosse Tournament over the course of many years. The 2023 recipient of this award is Mike DeRossi, co-founder of the Lake Placid Summit Classic. Here to present Mike with his Legends Award is his longtime friend and fellow co-founder, George Lavelle.
Well, this has been a long time in the making. If you knew us many years ago, you would knew our backgrounds. You might not think that we would be in this position. Mike was a very accomplished track athlete. I was a baseball player. And we met at Niagara University with our third legend, Mark Snyder, who's no longer with us, but is a legend of Lake Placid lacrosse. And we played lacrosse for Wes Patterson, another very well-known native who developed the game and built sticks. We played, and when I left college after playing with Mike up there for several years, we went back to Albany, where we both lived, and we played for the Mohawk Lacrosse Club until Mike, unfortunately, had a major injury that ended his lacrosse career. Funny story, though, when he was on the field writhing in pain, he was comforted by the fact that a good friend of ours, Steve Vinscara, came up and said, "Don't worry, I'm a doctor." Then he told us he was a gynecologist. And Mike let out a big groan. Mike started the first really sports lacrosse and hockey store in Albany, and for many years was operating that store. And I became a mountain fanatic, climbing all these mountains out here, and went to Vail in 1990 and said, "Wow, lacrosse in the mountains, what a great idea." Came back here, and Mike and I decided to launch this effort. Met with legend Butch Martin and Ned Harkness, and we started in year one with 7 teams and played 13 whole games. We divided up our duties. Mike handled vending, sponsorship, marketing, advertising, those kinds of things, and I handled competition, recruitment of teams, overall operations. Our approach to this was hard work, fun, and no drama. We learned early on that our friendship was more important than a business arrangement, and so we always kept, I honestly don't know that we ever had an argument. That's pretty incredible over 28 years. There were a lot of late nights at mud puddles, watching game videos, playing, that game. At the end of the day, we started years ago by renting a boat. It'd be cool to go out on Lake Placid Lake at night in a boat until we almost got killed in a boat one night when we didn't have our lights on. Then we started canoeing until we capsized. And finally we found a nice little dock that we sat on every night, very quiet, peaceful, and and safe until the Leahy brothers came over one night to dump Mike in the water. We really never had an argument, and we still remain great friends. We spend a lot of our time now playing music, which is something that we're going to be doing a little later on tonight. And Mike sold his business several years ago, retired from SLV in 2018, and after 28 years of service, legend Mike DeRossi, come on up.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, George. You took all my stories. Wow, 34 years of Lake Placid Lacrosse. What an incredible event. What an incredible time. What an incredible story that George and I have had. Regarding the Tom Pillsworth Award, Tom Pillsworth started with us the first year, and he was here for 29 years. 29 years, Tom, and was just an integral part of helping us put the tournament on while George and I were lugging everything around and setting up fields and stringing goals. Tom was organizing and making sure everybody did their job and everything. And so to be honored with Tom's award, it's very touching to me because I did the same thing in the same way. I didn't have his responsibilities. So Tom, thank you so much for everything. I appreciate it. I'd like to first start thanking Ashley and Kevin, who now run the event. They took over with George and I, and they have been doing a phenomenal job with this event. They make everybody feel at home. The games, obviously tonight we had some problems, but the games always go on as scheduled. They're doing a wonderful job, and the legacy has been pushed onto them. And we're riding off to the sunset playing our guitars, so that's been a great thing. I'd also like to thank all the wonderful people that work here for us, guys like Richie Gross that do it, that run the work for the kids that score all the games, that do all the scorekeeping. That is a tremendous job because there's so much to do with that job, and so I'd like to thank all of them. I'd also like to thank Nancy Lavelle and all the Lavelle kids. They've been wonderful to us. We're like a family, the DeRossis and the Lavelles. For all these years that we've been together, from college all the way through our 70s, which is ridiculous, but it happens to all of us. So thank you to all you guys. I'd also like to thank my wife Nancy, my daughter Abby, who are both here tonight. My kids who all worked here over the years, they all worked here and had a great time. The sport of lacrosse has given us all like a different look at life. We look at life with respect, we look at life with camaraderie, we look at life with competition now. It's a wonderful sport, and a sport that's, no other sport is like this. They don't have what we have. And so it's been great to be part of this. I do have a story to tell, though, that George briefly touched on, and I'm going to go back to the canoe story. The canoe story started, I don't think it was about year 9 or so, when one night we came back from mud puddles or wherever we were at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, knowing we had to be up at 6 o'clock to get it to the fields to get everything set up. But we decided to go out to go for a canoe ride. George, Mark Snyder, and myself, the 3 of us. And we had a 2-man canoe with 3 guys. So we happened to have a bottle of Sambuca with us, which is our drug of choice while we're here, and most of the time. But we had been out for a while, and we were having a lot of fun, and the next thing you know, over we go. And we started to laugh, and I'm telling you, we laughed. And we righted the boat, we got back in, went out a little further, started to laugh again, and flipped over again. Second time, now we're going to drink. So we finally decided we're going to swim the boat to shore. We tried to swim the boat to shore. George, at the time, wasn't a great swimmer, right? So he was kind of sitting on the boat. Mark and I are swimming the boat. We finally get to shore. George says, listen, how about you guys walk back, and I am going to take the boat, and I'm going to paddle back over. So we decided. George turned to step into the boat, stepped into the boat, over he went into the water. So 3 times in one night, we finally get back, we walk up to George's condo. I open the door, and there's Nancy Lavelle. What have you boys been up to? What have you boys been up to? I said, could you hear us? She said, the whole town heard you. And with that, Buckanoo was born. Now, Brent Riley from Graphtex. Brent, you there? Yeah. Brent? Yeah. Him and I got together and we came up with a logo, and we called it the Buckanoo logo. And that went on to the tournament t-shirt. Now every year the tournament t-shirt is a different design. Brent designs it, does a great job on it. But every year the Buckanoo logo is on the t-shirt. And this is a shirt from, I believe, 2019, I think this is. I don't know. But I don't know if you can see it. But on every one of these shirts that have been made, and I got to say there's literally 20,000 of these shirts been made over the years, the Buckanoo logo is always on the back in some place, some shape or form. And it's become a thing with us for a long time. So to keep my time short, thank you so much for the legend. I appreciate that. It's a wonderful honor. Thank you, George, for being my friend, co-musician, partner in crime. And thank you, everybody, for coming.
So just to close up this staff portion of the Pillsworth Award, I do want to acknowledge our entire staff and all the hard work they do. Tonight was a perfect example of, they're all supposed to be here, and I bet they're not here, because they're dealing with schedule issues and things of that nature. But starting with my partner and our CEO, Ashley Gersick Murphy, my son Kevin Lavelle, Blake Shire, who will also be a member of our Legends House Band tonight, and Dan Whitmer, of course. Eric Whitmer, I don't know, is Eric here?
Not yet.
Eric here?
Not yet.
Those are our permanent staff people, and all the independent contractors who work for us all the years, all the officials, everybody, the athletic trainers, just fantastic people. We thank you all, because this would not be what it is without all of you. Thank you.
Sir. 2020 marked the first year of the Paul Rose Award, which is presented to a coach or organizer whose dedication and commitment to this tournament goes above and beyond. This year's recipient of the Paul Rose Award is Bob Dix. And we're sticking our neck out here, but here to introduce us to Bobby is Bob Leary.
Believe me, I'm as nervous as you are. All right. Right. Well, first of all, thank you. Thank you, organizers, to everyone who picked Bob. And Bob keeps trying to deflect this award onto everyone from all of Tri-City. And that's because, if you know Bob, that's how Bob is. And he's a guy who deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. And I've known him since, like, when I started, I was on the first JV team at Whitesboro. I want to say, we're from Whitesboro, by the way. Whitesboro. And giving an award to a Whitesboro guy for lacrosse, I thought we were angering the lacrosse gods today, because I got hit by hail. I was attacked on the way in, and I'm getting a little nervous about that. But we're putting a Whitesboro guy in, so that's awesome. And Bob is the obvious choice. He was a legend growing up. When you were on JV, you wanted to be like Bob. And then he went off to Potsdam and played, and then we founded this league. It's our 40th anniversary for Tri-City Lacrosse, and Gino DeCondo was involved. I'll let Bob tell the story more. You gotta give credit to Andy Farrell. The first year that we came here, and we've been here since year one, we weren't really sure, and we had our championship game, excuse me. We had the championship game, and some of us, younger than smart, and a few Herkimer guys, got to throw a little plug in there. Here's the thing. We decided we'll go up and play, we'll go down and play the championship game, and then we'll go back. And it seemed like a good idea at the time, and we got beat pretty good up here, and we got beat pretty good in the finals down at home, and then we got beat more up here, so that's how it went. The real thing about Bob is the other Hall of Fame that Bob belongs in, and that is the all-time great guy Hall of Fame. Bob is the greatest guy that there is, you know? Like, he's got a friends list. It's like Santa's good list, and he's got an enemy list, and it's empty. And that sums it up. I talk about his family, but I want him to be able to talk about this. This is his moment. So, Bob Dix, come on down.
Yeah, you were taking a chance putting Bob up here. Thanks. First of all, he is right. You know, it's all about the team. It's all about the players. I mean, if you look out here, there's 50 or 60 guys that came up from Utica to be at this thing, just to be here and, you know, honor lacrosse. And, you know, first of all, I want to thank George and Ashley and Kevin. You know, they've worked with us over the years, really, you know, putting teams in here. We started out with one team in 1990. Now we have 7 teams coming up here. We've got girls teams, we got high school teams, we got college kids, all the way up to old guys. And we're still trying to add divisions. So it just gets to be a chore, but it's a love that I have. Thanking them is huge. And we go way back with George. The number one person I have to thank is my wife, Alicia. And she goes way back with George also. She used to work for George. I came up here in 1995 and I met my wife. And now George, I took his employee and I really had a struggle to keep in this tournament for a long number of years. And she has kept us in the tournament for a long number of years. And out of that came 2 beautiful kids that I have, Abigail and Meredith. So I couldn't have asked for anything better out of lacrosse. And today, my parents, or my dad's here, my sisters, all my nieces and nephews came in, one from Missouri, one from Philly, Syracuse. So it's huge. Lacrosse has been part of our family since 1978. And like Bob said, started out at Whitesboro. Nobody expected you to do anything as a lacrosse player coming out of Whitesboro. Went to Potsdam. They had a program for 2 years. I went there just so I could play lacrosse. Graduated, and we started Tri-City Lacrosse in 1983. Here's 40 years later. We're trying to start new kids playing lacrosse every day. A little plug, where we've got a huge facility in Utica. We've got the Utica Yeti, who just started a box team a couple years ago. Whit's got his guys out of Oswego, and it's growing the game. It may not be the same exact path as a field team, but you know what? We get any stick in any kid's hands, it's going to be great. And the people that are out here that came out to support me, Tri-City, if I start naming names, I've got to name 50 of them. I appreciate all you guys. Everybody works hard, and like they said, you can't just take all the credit, and that's the least I would ever want to do. And I appreciate all you guys coming. I want to thank, again, my family, my friends, lacrosse players. I got friends from the Scholastic team that stuck around. My daughter's friends, they're here. I couldn't ask for anything better than this. So I'll cut it short. Thank you so much. And if I forgot anything, I apologize.
First presented in 2004, the Larry Piatelli Award is presented in loving memory to a men's official who has been a longtime positive presence wearing the stripes at Lake Placid. This year, the Larry Piatelli Award is presented to Mike Infantino. Here to present Mike with his Legends Award is Tom Abbott.
Not too close, right?
That's a tough act to follow right there. Just a personal note, I have actually refereed in Tri-City League for a bunch of years. Haven't done it the last few years. That group is awesome, so congratulations, Bobby. You're really well deserved of that. I'm here to talk about Mike Infantino. Mike's been officiating since 1994-5, somewhere in there. He made his first trip up here to Lake Placid a few years later, and ever since then he's been a fixture on the fields here of Lake Placid. He's easygoing, he's likable, he has a great easygoing style. He has a calm demeanor. Those are all trademarks that have made him successful and made him respected as a referee. Those are the attributes that I look for in guys. And whether it's officiating lacrosse or teaching the kids in high school in a classroom, he's been a professional person in everything that he does. That's also a great attribute. To put this all in a nutshell, Mike's a great soldier. You need soldiers. He's one of the best and most consistent officials that I've ever seen and had the pleasure to work with over the years. He's everything that this award is about. The Piatelli Award represents everything that Mike has done through his career. So Mike, welcome to the 2023 Piatelli Award winner.
Thanks, Tom. Okay, so being a teacher, I prepared some notes. Okay, but I know my audience, I know the lacrosse audience, so it's going to be short. So this is a very nice honor. I got Dan Whitmer's email about the award on March 25th. I'll tell you why I remember that date in a few minutes. First, Larry Piatelli. He was a great guy. I remember Larry my first 3 years here at Lake Placid. He welcomed me. We were both educators. We talked about teaching as an honorable profession. We talked about kids. We talked about being fathers. Larry left us way too soon, and I appreciate this Legends Award in his name. I'd also like to congratulate the other 4 new legends. Is Brian Silcott here? Okay, great. So Brian and our paths have crossed throughout our careers. Here at Lake Placid, at Trinity College when he was the head coach, and Brian, a lot of the Connecticut guys say hi. In the MLL, we crossed paths, and at the Glastonbury tournament. So Brian, I remember making a call once when I was a younger official at Glastonbury, and I called something on you. It might have been a ward, or an illegal screen, or interference, maybe chesting, something that took the ball away, and you weren't really happy with it. You said it was the worst call in the history of lacrosse. So, so Brian, I'm a history teacher and a lacrosse lover, so that hit me kind of hard as a young official. So I went back to the ref tent, and a couple of guys said, "Don't worry about it. He said the same thing to me yesterday." He says it all the time. So I felt a little better, and so refs support each other, Brian. I also want to thank those who supported me for the Larry Piatelli Award. I'm not exactly sure who, but I can guess. Other legends like Chuck Peeves and Tony Peranti, Spike Decker and Mike Bransky, John Morgan, the real John Morgan, Andrea's John Morgan. Thanks, John, for inviting me up that first year. I'm sure Jimmy Vacco and Tom Abbott had something to do with this too. And great mentors like Walt Munsey, Clark Mercer, Skip Spensieri. Great people every year coming up here. One more for sure. I'm sure George Lavelle had something to do with this. Each year when I see George and he and I see each other on Thursday, when I pull in, he walks toward me, says hello, shakes my hand, and thanks me for coming. My guess is I'm not the only person that he recognizes by name and gives a warm greeting. Maybe hundreds this week or more. I remember the first year I was here at Lake Placid in 2001. I came up in a van. I was going to bunk with some guy who never showed up. George said, "Well, you can stay right there if you want. You got a van." So I thought, well, I'll figure it out. So I spent that night in the van. I went to Zigzags, came back, right by the porta potties. I thought that was a good spot. So I used it, went to sleep, slept about an hour, and all of a sudden the guy in the truck came to clean out the porta potties. All of them. So that was the last time I slept in the parking lot. I found a room at the Cobble Mountain Lodge for 20 years. And I got to tell you, people at home ask me why I drive 4 hours to work another summer tournament and break even at best. I tell them about the playing venue and the people you bump into, and the mountains, and the ski jump, and Whiteface. I tell them about the quaint Olympic town, and I tell them about the cottage, and wise guys, and zigzags. But I also tell them about Graph-Tex versus Rusty Reds, Burnt Orange versus Brown State, Garber Gorillas, and I tell them about Sail and Shoe. See, my good friend Bob Olson has so much Sail and Shoe swag, he gives me the leftovers. It's not pink, it's fuchsia. I know the entire history of the shoe from Bob, Jake Reed, Jeff Long, Lowell George, Little Feet, Tim Shear, Brendan Schneck, Jerry Byrne, Bob Olson. They love the shoe. Here at Lake Placid, it's real reffing. The games are important to the teams that come. We manage their games. We have to be consistent, communicate well, have good judgment. All the things that we do during the season. It's important to the players and their families that we officiate well. Do you know what it's like to ref the over 30 division? Every player on the field and the sideline is a coach. 50 of them. So being the calmest person on the field usually works in those games. I usually say, we'll look for it. Good point. Thank you. No, we'll get it next time. And they're good with that. It's a really good way to test our skills and emotion. TA says we need real refs on those games. So that's why I tell people, that's why I come to Lake Placid in the summer to break even. Just one more. I want to tell you about March 25th. Dan sent me that email about being a legend. See, it came at the right time because my dad passed away at 2:15 that morning on March 25th after a short illness. Dan's email was pleasant and congratulatory. Sometimes something I needed at that moment, but then I read further all the things that I needed to do. Biography, lacrosse history, picture, other tasks, due date. Due date for a teacher? So I wrote back and told him about my dad passing that morning and my family. I was thinking about my family and I had things to do on March 25th. So Dan wrote back right away. He gave condolences, said take care of family business. Get back to me when you can. See, Dan's dad passed away a year ago, so he understood. My dad was the best. He would come to my games when I was scheduled on Long Island at Hofstra or Stony Brook or St. John's or Mitchell Field. I would come see him in the stands. He liked the games, even though he didn't understand a lot of it, being from the greatest generation. He once said to me, don't take this the wrong way, but nobody wants to watch the refs. So, Dad always made good points. My wife says that too. My daughter said that. So thank you all. It's cool to be a Lake Placid legend. But come tomorrow, I don't think any of the players will care. They'll call me something else. But y'all made a Long Island boy feel real comfortable in upstate New York on the shoulders of giants. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it makes more sense. Thanks,
The Grow the Game Award was first presented in 2018, recognizing someone who's had a positive impact on the growth of lacrosse in his or her region and has had a strong connection to the Summit Classic. The winner of this year's Grow the Game Award is Brian Silcott. Here to present Brian with his Legends Award is Peter Schaefer.
I know it's hard to hear back there, so I'll try to speak up. And I know Silly's pretty worried about what I'm going to say here. So, George, thank you very much, Coach. This is a blessing for everybody to come up here and playing for the Sailing Shoe and wearing the fuchsia. It is a blessing. But in order really to comprehend why we're gathered here for Brian Silcott, we have to start at the beginning. And I know what the beginning was. And that is that the greatest lacrosse player in history, Jim Brown, and the great Haudenosaunee chief, Orrin Lyons, had a child. Of course, to borrow a line from John Stewart, same-sex marriage, interracial unions back then were not so popular. But that child grew to be the greatest athlete on any field he played on, to be the consummate teammate for every team he played with, and the greatest ambassador of the Creator's game. And of course, that child is Brian Silcott. I've been most fortunate to caddy for Brian for the last 35 years, from tournaments, Florida, Vail, Vegas, and of course our favorite here in Lake Placid. I've carried his bags, I've carried his bottles of bourbon, I've had front row seats watching him interact with countless players. And every player that's ever interacted with him comes away understanding why he's a legend. It's been 4 decades of watching people just marvel at his athletic ability, marvel at his personality, marvel at his love of the game. So I am humbled to present Brian as a legend at Lake Placid. So what is a legend? A legend is an individual versed and proficient in the highest levels of multiple and many disciplines. That is Brian Silcott. Anybody who knows Brian knows that it doesn't matter what the topic is, whether it's the pairs offense, diversity in sports, foreign policy, rare wines of California, human relationships. No one is going to be more versed, more prepared, more passionate than Brian to debate, educate, and deliberate until the wee hours of the morning. And no one individual in this room, and there's a lot of great individuals, has had more and differing jobs in the sport of lacrosse. From player, college, pros, indoor, outdoor, coaching, indoor, outdoor, college, everywhere else, being a national leader, being a governor of sports. No one has done them with more creativity, more passion, more desire to grow the game than Brian Silcott. Of course, 9 years of college would prepare anybody for that kind of diverse careers. One can truly tell the value of a human life and the quality by the quality and quantity of their friends. Who has had friends from every level of their life? Junior high, high school, college, post-college, wherever. And that means the person has been a good person, a good friend to all those people for many years. And to watch Brian at all these tournaments, and to see the players that have played against him, the teammates that were fortunate enough to play with him, his friends, all that, you see the type of person he is. Because on every club, on every team, he's the leader, he's a person that wants to grow the game and is no more passionate about the game than Brian. Of course, his opponents might not agree with that, but they do marvel at his great talent, his great shots, his big calves, his big thighs, all that stuff. Very few people are more beloved and revered than Silly. He is that one person. Maybe, of course, Timmy Scher's in the room, that he could also be that person that will make any player on any division in this tournament a better team. Everything he does is with the same level of passion, excellence, and ethics, whether it's playing lacrosse, coaching lacrosse, growing the game of lacrosse, being a father, a brother, and a husband. So I ask everybody to raise a glass First of all, to Lavelle's for having this tournament. I would like to at least recognize his son, Cameron James, and his wife, Karen, who are not here. But our great game is richer, our friendships are deeper, our lives are all better because of Brian Silcott. So I do want to toast and introduce Brian as a legend of the game, and again, a legend of Lake Placid. So our teammate, to our friend, a great ambassador, and of course to the son of Warren Lyons and Jim Brown, Brian Silcott.
Couple things we got to talk about. Thank you, Shafe. Shafe told me the first thing I had to talk about was thank my agent. That's Peter, so thank you, Shafe, again. Most of all, I want to thank all of my teammates throughout all the years I've been at this tournament. I think I'm not 100% certain because it was a long time ago, but I think I missed the first year and started coming the second year of this event and haven't missed a lot of them since then. When I found out I won this award, it was, when you exist in a sport for a long enough time, a lot of people give you trinkets and things and tell you you're good at what you did. But this one was a little bit different. I right away went to my wife and she didn't understand. She was like, "Why are you so excited about this? Like, you get awards all the time." Like, well, this is different. This is Lake Placid. Like, this is special. This is upstate New York. This is the best tournament in the world for a lacrosse person to attend. So it was truly special to me when I found out. So I want to thank Dan Whitner who let me know, and obviously Kevin and George, who've been doing this for such a long time in such a high class manner. I lined up for my first game yesterday, and as I was lining up on the opening face-off, on the wing, I used to take face-offs, and I realized it's a lot easier to line up out on the wing and just run and get the ball and crouch down and do all that other stuff. So I line up on the wing now, and I look to my right, and the defense, I had Timmy Scher, Dan Pratt, and Pat McCabe on defense at this end of the field. I look the other side, and it's Marole and Billy Bergen and Stevie Zimbrato on attack on the other side. And I'm looking, I'm saying, like, I'm the legend. Like, I have the opportunity to play with the best in the game when I come up here. And different years, different teams. There's not many great players in our sport over the last 40 years that I haven't had the opportunity to either play with or against at this tournament. And that's part of what makes it special, right? Is you get to play with these great people, spend time with them afterwards, whether it's in the old days, going out to the bars and drinking and hoping to meet some new people, or the way we did it as we got a little bit older, where it was much more about cooking big meals in a nice house, drinking lots of bourbon, and talking about the days when we used to go out to the bars and try to meet new people, and how cool we were back when we did it, and how old and stodgy we were now. But it's all great, and it's all part of lacrosse, and lacrosse is always at the center of it, right? It's the thing that brings us all together. It's the thing that I think is massively impactful on all of our lives, and it is truly, truly a special game. Someone said earlier something about there's something spiritual in our sport, and there's no doubt that it comes from it's Native American in our particular version, the what came from the Haudenosaunee. It's special, and it's impossible to put your finger on it. You can't quite identify what it is, but you know if you're a lacrosse player, you're different than the other athletes, and you have a different connection to your game than the other athletes have, and nothing embodies that better in terms of a tournament than Lake Placid. It is truly a coming together of spirits to enjoy our game, compete our asses off, occasionally tell the ref that they made the wrong call, and it's history. History is important, right? But one thing about history is that you move on from the past, right? So in the moment, that bad call is the worst call in the history of the game. You put the other ones behind you, you forgave everybody and moved on. So in the moment, that one actually could be the worst call in history, and as far as I remember. I've had many great conversations actually with officials, and I do express my opinion times. I also, though, make a point to thank them after the games all the time, and I know that it's hard work. And particularly at tournaments like this, you hear a lot of opinions from the sidelines. Before I wrap up, for me it was cool that I got into this as a grower of the game, because that's something that's incredibly important to me, and it's what I'm now doing in my career, working for USA Lacrosse, specifically charged with among other things, growing the sport of lacrosse. So before I step down from here, I just want to ask a favor from everybody, because lacrosse is important to everybody here. And the reality is that our sport is no longer growing. We experienced tremendous growth for a long time. We were getting 10% year-over-year growth in lacrosse, and that's just not the case anymore. And COVID was part of it, but there's other influencers, and our sport is not growing. We're doing fine, but we're not growing anymore. And so my ask of everybody here is that in the coming months and coming years, we all look for ways to contribute to the growth in the best way we can. Whether it's donating to your local youth organization so they can get more sticks for more kids, if it's getting out and coaching more, if it's encouraging people to officiate, because that's a huge part of it, is having enough officials to keep the game safe and fair and fun for the kids on the field. But if we all contribute just a little bit more than we have in the past, I believe, and it's my job to believe, quite honestly, that we can swing this thing back the other way and start growing lacrosse again. Because it is an amazing game, and it does truly change people's lives. And I've seen it over and over again. It's not football, it's not basketball, it's not baseball, it's lacrosse. And it's a special game, and the more people we can share it with, I think, the better the world will be. Thank you.
Our final Legends Award tonight is the Travis Solomon Award, which was first presented in 2010. Presented in memory of a player or participant who has demonstrated not only great skills, but also a traditional, respectful approach for the game. This year's winner of the Travis Solomon Award is Dave White. Here to present Dave with his 2023 Legends of Lake Placid Award is longtime friend and former college roommate, Dom Starsia.
Sure. Thank you very much. I first met Dave in the spring of 1971, in the days when you had to play on freshman teams. I had never seen nor played the game, and he was the best player on our freshman team. I was fascinated with his being a Native American, a Mohawk from the St. Regis Reservation just north of here. We became closer in our second year, and I spent time on the reservation that summer of 1972. I played my first box game under the alias Ralph Cree. Someone who's missing the games. Spent time in the wood stick factory. From my relationship with Dave, I came to know the history of the game, came to respect the game, came to love the game. I mentioned that 1973 undefeated Ivy championship team. Dave was selected first team All-Ivy, our leading midfield scorer, and simply one of the best middies in the country. He didn't come back to school for our senior year. He left me there without him. He was home following the birth of his oldest child, Joni. He came back to Brown and graduated in 1975 and played in what is inarguably the greatest North-South game ever. Played in Ithaca. Dave had the winner in overtime in a 25-24 win for the North. Dave went on. Dave went on to play and coach for what was then called the Iroquois national team. He played senior box until he just couldn't, and most importantly served as a counselor for young Native students at Salmon River Central School for 30 years. When Dave introduced me at this Legends event a few years back, he said that lacrosse has been Dom's good medicine. And he's right. In this case, Dave has been the good doctor. He has had a profound influence on my life in the game and has been a positive spirit for so many of us in this room. He probably has been the MVP of the Masters Division up here at Placid since we all started playing in 1990s. We all grew up in the different divisions. I made this walking stick for Dave because everybody needs a good stick. It's got a traditional stick and feather in our Brown University colors. Got Dave's initial on the back with the date. The leather reminds us of the traditional sticks that we all grew up with, and in the Haudenosaunee color of purple. And this little guy right here, this little ceramic guy, was made at my daughter's group home where they live in Charlottesville. And I don't know what it is, but we're going to call it a goat. Because for tonight, Dave White is the goat of Lake Placid. And it is absolutely my pleasure to introduce him for induction into the Legends Society here.
Thanks, Don. Pretty nice.
Well, thank you all very much. I appreciate the recognition and the award of Travis Solomon, who was a good friend of mine. In fact, I wear his gloves. And the reason why I wear his gloves, many of you who know me and others who don't, I lost my fingers when I was 6 years old. And it was a very traumatic experience for me. And I was spiraling downward. I kept saying, I can't do it, I can't do it, I can't do it. Why me? Why me? And I did that for years until Ralphie Cree's father, Rob Cree, convinced me to play Little League baseball, and I did that. We figured a way that I could do it. I played outfield, caught the ball in my left hand, put the glove under my armpit, and threw the ball in. And he was the guy who I owe a lot of credit for, because he's the one that got me to believe that I could do things. And it was a very crucial time in my life. And at the same time, Rob's brother-in-law, Wally Grompoint, he was celebrating Robbie and Ronnie's birthday, and he got them some lacrosse sticks, some box lacrosse sticks. We had been watching box lacrosse in an outdoor box when I was a young kid, and it was just a fascinating game to watch. And a few of the guys that were on that team are all members of the Ontario Lacrosse Hall of Fame. Two of them were my coaches, Frank Benedict and Pete Burns, and they helped me to learn the game. And then, as it turned out, having lost my fingers kind of changed the trajectory of my life, because my parents realized I could never be an iron worker like my older brothers or go in the armed services. So they encouraged me to do well in school. And so as a result of that, I was identified by the ABC program, A Better Chance. And when I entered 9th grade, I was placed in a prep school that I'd never heard of, Mount Herman School. And that's where I learned to play field lacrosse. And in the same year, I started playing junior C box lacrosse at home with the coaches I mentioned. So it was a nice situation for me, because I came from a community that was so caring and loving and took care of you. Getting back to when the Cree brothers got their lacrosse sticks, their uncle Wally reached into his trunk for a third stick, and he handed it to me, and I just marveled at it. This is a field lacrosse stick, but Wally Grompoint was the son of Frank Grompoint, and Frank Grompoint was the founder of the Chisholm Grompoint Lacrosse Factory that used to supply the sticks, the wooden sticks, up until about 1970 for the world. I was fascinated to go to the factory that Dom alluded to and see how the sticks were made by my Mohawk brethren, and to see the joy that went into the stick making process. You mentioned Alfie Jock. I have one of his sticks, and one of the many kids, I say kids, one of the many men now that he trained was Jack Johnson, Evan Cree, and Mike Thompson. And I have a stick that was given to me by Jack Johnson. And what I would like you to know about this is, what this is what you hear all the time on ESPN is Tawarathon, you know, but that's not how you pronounce the word. It's a Mohawk word, and it actually is pronounced more like Dewa Aladu or Dewa Aladu, and it means the stick with the lace netting. It's not little brother of war. It's not the creator's gift, although that's what it is. But I just want you to know that, and I hope that as our game is growing globally, the announcers are going to make the effort to pronounce names from the Eastern Bloc countries of Europe, African countries, Asian countries, all over, and I think they're going to make the effort to say it correctly. So this is like the Heisman Trophy Award. And if you hear that, you're going to say, no, it's the Heisman Trophy Award. And I hear it every spring, and it's one of the things that really irritates me, that they don't get it right. It's not disrespectful, but I just would like them to get it right. You know, I think it's important to do that. And as was alluded to by Jim Calder when he talked about the clan mothers and their importance in our culture to make things happen, they were telling our people that women shouldn't play the game. But I'd like to acknowledge some women in my life who've been very important in supporting my efforts. Rhonda's here, Darcy's not here, and Rebecca's not here. Jay's here, and my other daughter Joni's not here. My son Zachary is also here. They're not here, but they're all important. And I like to recognize the women who support the men who get out on the field, who make the sacrifices to say, okay, we're going to give up this weekend and go watch you play the game that you love. And I think it's critical that we recognize the women who are behind us, because they make Lake Placid to enjoy the beautiful scenery. It's a particularly good game to come to. The venue is fantastic, and what I particularly enjoy about it is it was Mohawk territory. This is the eastern door, and the Mohawks and the Haudenosaunee were keepers of the eastern door. So I often think, I wonder if my ancestors played in these same areas on these same grounds and enjoyed the game the way we do today. So it's especially fun for me to come every year, and I don't think I've ever missed a year since it started. And one of the things I always do is I always have a stick like this. And we used to say that when you looked at your stick to prepare for a game, you would look at the lace netting and you could see the faces of those that went before you and those that couldn't play the game. And I always acknowledge the coaches that helped develop my game, and I thank them so much for being an important part of my development. Lacrosse has been with me for 60 years now, and I've done the gamut from player to coach to ref, and played on many great teams, many championship teams. Here I played, over 20 years with the Legends, 10 years with the Cloud Splitters, and we've been champions, and I'm very proud of that. And I enjoyed the fellowship and the communion of us getting together annually, and I look forward to each and every year. I don't know how much longer I can go, but I'm going to go as long as I can, and I hope you all do too. And I look at players like Kenny Fournier, and he's an inspiration because he was one of the first players that hit that I know that hit that 70-year, milestone and keep going. So I hope to do the same. Thank you very much for this award. It's very heartwarming, and I thank you very much.
So just a few more minutes, a couple more remarks, and then we're going to move to our final element of the night. So Dave and all of our inductees tonight, congratulations to all of you, well deserved, and congratulations. I want to take a moment here to introduce our CEO, Ashley Gersick Murphy, who's now here after working through all these issues. Thank you, Ashley. I also want to take a moment to thank my wife of 47 years, Nancy, for supporting us and our family throughout all of this. Thank you. So what's up next? the Cloud Splitter Lacrosse Club, it's been around since 1999, has had a great run here, wonderful people, just like Sale and Shoe and some of these other ultra legends and all these great groups. Our first goalie was Artie Waugh, and you guys might remember Artie Waugh. He was a great guy and a character. What a lot of people didn't know about Artie was he was an artist, and he was an art teacher in high school, in addition to being a football coach and a lacrosse coach. And so we want to show that this community is a lot more than just great lacrosse players and good people. They're talented people. They have so much more to offer. And our goal is that down the road, this could be something we offer the community here, where we're down on Mirror Lake at the band shell, entertaining the community for having us here. So we will go in 5 minutes or so. We're going to go right behind. We're going to move this wall. And in fact, if you wouldn't mind moving the wall, we'll see what's back there. And this effort tonight is endemic. Almost every person in this ensemble that's going to be here plays lacrosse in the tournament or plays lacrosse. And so we're trying to showcase the fact that there's more to life than just the fields. And we're going to offer summit songs in about 5 minutes. So I want to thank everyone again. I want to once again thank all of our sponsors. And I want to congratulate all of the legends and thank you all for coming out tonight. So in about 5 minutes or so, we'll be starting the band. Thank you.